I want you to picture a quiet house. Not abandoned, not broken, just quiet. The kind of silence that feels ordinary until you realize later that it wasn't. On the night of February 4th, 2007 in Abilene, Texas, a small family home sat exactly like that. Lights on, doors closed, nothing visibly wrong. Inside that house were two children. One was 4 years old, the other was 13. And by the end of the night, only one of them would still be breathing. What happened inside that home wouldn't make sense at first, and even now, years later, it still doesn't sit right. Because some crimes don't begin with violence, they begin with patience. Ella Bennett was 4 years old. She was at that age where the world still feels safe, where bedtime stories mean comfort, not routine, where you trust that the people in your house exist to protect you, because they always have. She lived with her mother, Charity Bennett, and her older brother. From the outside, their life looked unremarkable. No police calls, no headlines, no warnings taped to the door. That night, Charity was working late. It wasn't unusual. To help, she hired a babysitter, someone trusted, someone familiar, someone whose job was simple: keep the kids safe until mom came home. And for a while, that's exactly what happened. But time passed, and something changed. At some point that evening, the babysitter was told she could leave early, that Charity would be home soon, that everything was fine. The house was calm, the kids were settled. There was no panic, no argument, no reason to doubt what she was told. So she left. The door closed behind her, and the house became quiet again. What's unsettling isn't what happened immediately after. It's what didn't. There was no sudden chaos, no neighbors reporting screams, no frantic calls for help, no signs that something was wrong at all. Inside the house, one child stayed in his room, the other stayed in hers. Minutes passed, maybe longer, and somewhere in that stretch of time, a line was crossed, one that can't be uncrossed. Later, when police would piece the night together, they would focus on what came next. Not the act itself, but the behavior around it. Because after everything had already happened, after the damage was done, there was still no rush, no immediate call to emergency services. Instead, there was a phone call, not to the police, not to a parent, but to a friend. A casual conversation, ordinary, almost normal, as if the night hadn't already been sealed. When the emergency call finally came, it didn't sound like panic. It sounded confused. Strange claims were made, things that didn't quite add up, words that seemed chosen rather than spontaneous, a story that felt rehearsed but incomplete. By the time officers arrived, the truth was already waiting for them. A 4-year-old girl was dead in her bedroom, and the person who led them there was still inside the house. At first glance, this looked like something impossible. A child dead. No forced entry, no stranger, no obvious explanation. Investigators didn't rush to conclusions. They couldn't afford to, because cases like this are fragile. Every assumption matters. What they did know was this: whatever happened had not been impulsive. The timeline didn't suggest panic, it suggested control. And control, especially in cases involving children, changes everything. As the hours passed, the story told that night began to fracture. Details didn't align, emotions didn't match the moment, and certain reactions, or lack of them, stood out in ways no one could ignore. This wasn't just about what happened to Ella, it was about why the house stayed so quiet, and why the danger was never outside the door. By the time investigators began asking real questions, the house had already given up its first secret. There was no sign of an intruder, no broken lock, no forced entry. Whatever happened to Ella Bennett didn't come from outside that home. It came from within it. And that realization changed the tone of the investigation entirely, because now the danger wasn't hypothetical, it was personal. The child who made the emergency call sat nearby while officers worked. 13 years old, quiet, alert, too composed for what had just occurred. His reactions didn't match the moment. There was no shock, no confusion, no visible fear. Instead, there were explanations, strange ones. He spoke about things he claimed to see, things he claimed to believe. He said words that sounded dramatic, almost theatrical. He wanted investigators to look in a specific direction, to believe a specific story. But stories only hold together when they hold together. And this one didn't. When professionals trained in deception and trauma listened carefully, they noticed something unsettling. The details weren't chaotic. They were controlled. Claims of hallucinations appeared only when convenient. Emotional responses came late, and when they did, they felt practiced. Even the timing of events raised questions, especially the delay between what happened and when help was finally called. This wasn't panic. It was patience. As the investigation deepened, a darker picture began to form, one that shifted focus away from Ella and toward someone else entirely. Because this crime was never about the 4-year-old girl. She was not the source of anger. She was the instrument. Investigators discovered that long before that night, the older child had been harboring violent thoughts. Not sudden impulses, not fleeting ideas, but recurring fantasies. Structured, intentional. And the target of those thoughts wasn't her sister. It was their mother. What followed was one of the most chilling confessions ever recorded in a juvenile case. The truth, when it finally surfaced, wasn't wrapped in emotion or regret. It was delivered calmly, almost analytically. He admitted that he wanted to hurt his mother in the deepest way possible, not physically, emotionally. And he believed there was only one way to do that: take away what she loved most. Ella Bennett became collateral in a plan that was never about her. She was chosen not because of anything she did, but because of what she represented: love, vulnerability, loss. The murder was not impulsive. It was premeditated. The babysitter being sent away early was not coincidence. The delay afterwards was not confusion. Every step had purpose. And for seasoned investigators, that realization was more disturbing than the crime itself. When the case went to court, the age of the offender shocked the public. 13 years old, a middle schooler, someone most people still considered a child. But the law had to confront a difficult question. How do you sentence someone whose mind carried adult-level intent inside a child's body? The answer in Texas was the harshest one allowed: 40 years in prison. No extensions, no reductions, just time. As years passed, the story didn't fade, it evolved. Psychologists studied the case, criminologists debated it. The public remained divided, some believing redemption was possible, others convinced it never would be. What disturbed many wasn't just what happened, but what didn't. There was no remorse, no empathy, no visible grief for the sister who died. Even from behind prison walls, the emotional distance remained. Ella Bennett was 4 years old. She never had the chance to grow up. Never got to understand why the place meant to protect her became the place she died. And her case forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth: that sometimes monsters aren't created by chaos. They are created quietly, in homes that look normal, on nights that seem ordinary, in silence that no one thinks to question. Today, the person responsible remains alive, waiting, counting time, with a future that is still undecided. And that may be the most unsettling part of all. Because this story doesn't end with answers. It ends with a question.
When someone commits the unthinkable without remorse, do they ever truly stop being dangerous? Or were we only ever witnessing the beginning? Some crimes end with arrests, some end with sentences, but this one doesn't end at all. Because the person who killed 4-year-old Ella Bennett wasn't a stranger, wasn't a shadow, wasn't even an adult. And as time moves closer to the day he could walk free, one question refuses to go away. If someone could plan murder at 13, what are they capable of now? This case may be closed on paper, but its danger is not. Stay with us. Subscribe to Vanished and Unsolved, because some mysteries don't stay buried.